Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to our show on Power of Knowing Forum LinkedIn Live podcast episode 96. Today we are discussing on a topic the art of engaging leadership, inspire, influence and impact. We have the honor of having Mr. Sandeep Gupta backed with 40 years of experience. Sandeep Gupta is a professional speaker, conscious coach, design thinking expert, business consultant, and educator. Known as a conscious outliner, he fosters human centric leadership, sustained organizational wellness all over the world. Without further ado, let's welcome Sandeep Gupta to our podcast event. Hi, Sandeep. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening, Prem. How are you?
Good. How are you, Sandeep?
I'm very good and very excited to be on your platform.
Thank you for having. I am grateful to have you on the show, sir. Sandeep, without further ado, can you share a pivotal moment in your leadership journey that significantly shaped your approach in engaging leadership?
Okay, you're making me nostalgic with this
Okay.
question. I started my career way back in 79, 80.
Okay.
As an organization development person, the career started with a bang and then it went down.
Oh.
For 5, 6 years, I was in totally doldrums. I think it was somewhere in the late 1990s or around 2000, when I went to my guru and said, look, I'm working so hard. I'm doing everything by the book. I am like people are appreciating me, but still it's not taking off.
Okay.
So he said, look into yourself,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Because self awareness is very crucial for any leader. To ask you an example. Look, if I give you an orange frame and I say squeeze, what will come out? Orange juice.
Orange juice. Yeah.
If I
Right.
give you a banana and say squeeze, what will come out? Banana pulp.
Correct.
Similarly, when you squeeze a person, what comes out? Whatever is inside. If
Inside.
there's bitterness, anger, love, whatever is inside, that comes out.
Correct.
So the first thing he said, look, get into a state of deep self awareness. Why do you think the way you think? What,
Yeah.
what do you do and why do you do the way you do? And then he gave me three mantras. Number one, align your purpose, thoughts, and actions.
Yeah.
Number one, align your purpose, thoughts, and actions. Number two, act out of love and humility. And number three, look at the larger picture and learn to join the dots. Because
True.
life is not linear. It is a network or a maze of episodes triggering off multiple reactions in multiple directions. So unless you know what triggered a particular reaction, you cannot find a solution. And as a leader, you've got to be clear what is happening, why is happening, and what needs to be tackled. So these three mantras, somewhere around 2000, like I said, really changed my style of leading. And yes, from that time, I became a highly engaged leader.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, I understand what you said when we squeeze something as an example what you referred to, it becomes clear that sometimes people who didn't want to speak also start speaking and they come out. Some of the pointers that will come out during the frustration could be very valuable and a great feedback for us to change the way we approach those persons people as well. Sandeep, what do you think about that?
Human personality is very complex. One size does not fit all.
Yeah.
The person who, like you said, frustration or feeling down, a person at that point of time might be so charged that he lands up speaking, but in the normal circumstances, he does not. So it becomes the duty of the leader to help the person to open up. And how do you open up? What does a leader do? Let me share the 4S formula. The 4S formula which I use is number one, seen. You got to see and accept the person as he or she is. Soothe. The second is, when the person is in distress, you extend your hand and soothe the person. And to make this thing happen, the next S is secure. You got to let the person feel secure in your presence, to share open heartedly and freely without the fear of being judged.
Yeah.
And lastly, the person should be, it is safe, the person should feel safe in front of you in terms of physical and oral violations. You know, and you can apply this thing to any relationship. Why only the corporate or the office relationship? Apply it with your suppliers, apply it at home, apply it with your spouse, apply it with your children, apply it with your peers in the social circle, and you will find all human beings respond
Yeah.
positively to these 4 S's. So if you apply these 4 S's, yes, even the most disengaged person, even the most disillusioned person, dismayed person, or the frustrated person, start opening up. And
Open.
then it's your skill. How do you manage the person?
Most of the time, it is the fear that how am I judged? That is the major part where people don't want to speak up in a discussion or voice out their opinions. That makes them frustrated, is what I've seen, Sandeep. So, with that, what are some lesser known strategies used to inspire your team during challenging times?
Look, this lesser known and more known is basically a Western concept.
Okay.
A human being has to be treated like a human being, right?
Yeah.
And a human being, we always wear multiple hats at a particular point of time. You are a husband, you are a father, you are a brother, you are a son,
Right.
right? And you are a boss, you are a subordinate, you are a director,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
whatever happens under one hat impacts all the other hats.
True.
So, this philosophy in office, outside office, okay, there are certain 9 yards, there are certain boundaries, there are certain behavior traits which you got to observe. But basically, human beings are human beings. And this is the reason I love the 4S formula. It doesn't say that it will not apply to a child, it equally applies to a child. It
Yeah.
doesn't say it will not apply to an old man, it equally applies to an old man. And if you use the 4S formula, you don't need anything else. Because what are you communicating? You're communicating respect, mutuality, love, compassion. And a human being, what else do you want?
I was reading somewhere on the other day, a man only needs a kind of a respect and a small recognition for what he's put across. The rest of things are done. So, uh, how true it was, saying that somebody is given an importance while he's sitting next to you rather than having it on. People start looking at the phone. Maybe the next person sitting is not
Hmm.
at all, they don't discuss, they are more conscious. But if you give a shoulder to him or a space that you talk to him rather than looking at a mobile, lot of things come up. That's one thing, your listening capabilities. The second point that I read, when you get acknowledged for small things that are done while you are at work, it gives you a great boost for, it gives a great boost for the person whom your approach are appreciating. When you say you've done good, why don't we look at, maybe this is another pointer that you can look at, that gives a more value to a person. I think that way leadership skills will enhance and inspire them to do more because you are getting appreciated.
I totally agree with you. And there's neuroscience behind it.
Yeah.
Any stimulus which comes to us is related to two parts of the brain. One is the emotional brain, and one is the executive brain. The speed it is related to the emotional brain is faster
Yeah.
than it is related to the executive brain. And the emotional brain reacts on the basis of the past experiences and the mental images you have made of the situation and the person. Okay, now
Yeah.
I know ABC is always shouting or criticizing, and we are hardwired not to accept pain, to run away from pain. And so the moment I get a phone call that, okay, he is wanting to meet you, my brain says he might shout,
Yeah.
right? I have to go to his cabin because he or she is senior, right? But then I go with the fear of the pain which he or she will create, right?
Yeah.
By shouting. So what
Hmm.
happens neurobiologically? That the executive brain shuts off
Exactly.
and the emotional brain takes over, and the emotional brain only knows three things: fight, flight, or freeze.
Freeze.
So you're standing in front of the person is even is not shouting but still and making very good suggestions, still you are not listening.
True. True.
On the contrary, now let's change the scenario. His habits have changed, and he says, come, like you said, come, you have done a great job, but this is where you could have done it differently so that the results would have been better. Since there's no fear, my executive brain is working. I am listening to the person and absorbing what the person is saying. So there's a neurobiological reaction, to what you said, and I totally resonate and agree with you. And this is where an engaged leader, is very careful of the feedback. If I say you are wrong, you should not have done it, again I'm causing fear. I'm insulting the person at some level. I'm demeaning the person at some level and I'm saying I'm superior.
Yeah.
And the person tends to shut off
True.
and he starts working only for the check, the salary check. But in case I say, can I help you? I wish you had done this thing this way, it would have been better. Or, okay, how can I help you? So that next time the job is done better and it finishes in time. Then the person starts working for the team and the organization
Yeah.
because there's no fear, there's
No fear.
alignment.
I was reading something on. I am a big follower of Simon Sinek's
Hmm.
books. Okay, and he was talking about in a session where a person's numbers, which have been given, are not improving for the last 3 quarters.
Hmm.
But how do the manager look at you? Go and shout at him, or you go and see what is going on. I know their numbers are going down. I see that in the report.
Hmm.
But are you okay? Is a point that any leader is asking, because everybody falls under two categories that they fight in their life. Is one is career and one is personal life. Most of the leaders don't understand a person's leadership. They understand the leadership part, but they understand don't understand the family side of it or the personal side of it. You just need a smile and say, how are you doing? Had a cup of just a smile. That's what he emphasizes, saying that are you okay makes a lot of difference in a person when he's in serious trouble or he's not able to do his job. There is something which is troubling him where he's not concentrating. What is your take on that, Sandeep?
Prem, I totally resonate, what you said. And where does the problem lie? Whenever it comes to a discussion on leadership, have you ever seen a discussion on leadership starting with the followers? No.
No.
It starts with the leaders and it looks up towards achieving the company goals.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Can the leader achieve the company goals all by himself or herself?
No,
No.
that is not. No, that's not possible. Yeah.
He or she needs the people below him or her for achieving the company's goals. So,
True.
what is the leader? The leader is the bridge between the people who work and the company's goals.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you look at the definition given by General Powell, the 4-star American Army general, he
Mm.
says leadership is not about strategies or plans, it is all about man management. What does Steve Jobs says? He says leadership is all about inspiring people to do what they believe they cannot do. And what does Peter Drucker says? He says the job of the leader is to strengthen the strengths of the system in such a manner that the weaknesses get irrelevant. You see, so the crucial part is the followers. How do
Mm.
you get the followers to work in a synchronized manner, in a focused manner to help the leader achieve the goals? And this is the reason when we were talking about the title, I said inspire, influence, and impact.
Definitely. Definitely.
Okay, now let's flip. Okay, what does a employee want or the follower wants from the leader? Primarily four things: trust, hope,
Hope. Yeah.
right? Uh, Respect, and a vision.
True. True. True.
Things, and there
Yeah.
are a number of other things also. Correct. Like clear vision, communication, being meaning and purpose in the work they do, being valued, etc., etc.
Yeah.
The psychological dimension. But
Right.
these are the four things.
Trust plays a very important point that you said, because
Yes.
if I'm able to talk and communicate what I feel and what
Hmm.
we can do as a team, that
Hmm.
brings up a lot of things a leader can bring out from the team. Most of the team members uh, don't sync up with the passions of the team that they want to do and achieve the same results in different methods. They look at the same mundane way of looking at it. Has to go with the straight line approach, you will have to go with this hierarchy model. That is what I have seen some of the teams being led by leaders. So
Okay.
if you trust them and give them an opportunity to try, and the important point, if you fail, I am there for you. That's where a leader stands up, is what I feel. Sandeep, your
I
take
mean,
on.
you're absolutely right. And this is the point where I was coming. So, the first job of the leader is to connect with the people,
Yeah.
communicate and connect, because communication is the only tool, with which the leader can connect with the people. And the
Yeah.
leaders of today also have to keep in mind that the era of control and command is over. That was very relevant, that was important in the industrial age.
Right.
Today, we are living in a knowledge economy, a knowledge industry. Today, idea is prime.
Yes.
And where does the idea stay? It stays over here.
Yeah.
You see, you might say that put it on a piece of paper. You just don't know how much am I putting and whether I'm putting the real idea or not.
Yeah.
So therefore, you got to follow the mechanism of collaborate and create.
True.
There's no escape from that. And let me give you an example. Uh, Recently, I'm also involved in the Professional Speakers Association of India, and I was the chairperson uh, for the annual convention, which is an international event, which happened in Feb.
Yeah.
So, being the chairperson, I had to get everything together. And what I did was, I made teams. I did not impose myself. I gave them freedom. I was involved everywhere information was coming to me. I did not try to influence their decisions. As a result, whenever they were in a fix, they came to me
He came to us.
or they kept on informing me what's happening.
True.
Okay, and as a result, eight, nine, 10 different teams gelled together in such a beautiful manner. It has been the best and the most successful event in the last 6 years. You
Wonderful.
see, so it depends on the leader. And if you go to my LinkedIn page, you will find that people are still talking about the way the event was managed, though it's been 3 months now.
Okay.
Right. So, what you said, now coming back to your remark, hello, how are you? How can I help you? Is very powerful.
Yeah. To the audience, Sandeep Gupta can be followed on the link scrolling down. So any you can contact him, follow him for more updates there. Sandeep is available on LinkedIn. I think he is also available on other platforms, which we can share the links that are there. We'll share it after the session. Continuing, can you provide an example how you turned a disengaged team member to be a top performer?
Okay, the question is why is the person disengaged?
That's the point. That's where
You see,
we want to see
that's
how do
the
we turn him.
no. You see, if the person is disengaged because he wants to be disengaged,
Yeah. Yeah.
then you can do
Yes.
nothing. Believe me, it is like taking a horse to the river
Hmm.
and trying to make the horse drink water. No, the horse, you cannot make the horse
Or drink the water.
drink
Yeah.
water. You can only take the horse to the river. If the person has
Okay.
decided, I am going to be disengaged, I am not going to engage myself, you can do nothing.
I think for a person to get disengaged also, Sandeep, is he would have never been heard for a very long time, is what I feel. That is one way a person will slowly withdraw from himself on getting into points, because anyway the people don't give you a value when you raise a question or you are not heard. What's your
Okay.
take on
Now
it?
this was the second part. The first part
Okay.
was the right, the person has decided to be disengaged.
Disengage.
Okay.
Right.
You can do nothing. Then there'll be a group of people who have got disengaged for various reasons.
Okay.
Who have got disengaged for various reasons. It could be they lost out on a promotion. They didn't get the salary rise which they were expecting. There could have been a fight. They had
Hmm.
submitted a project which was not approved,
Well.
right? But there could be multiple reasons. Now, a dialogue, not a sermon,
Hmm.
a dialogue. A sermon becomes preaching.
Yeah.
Don't motivate. Motivation becomes artificial. At least
Hmm.
that's what I think. Dialogue. Okay, tell me the reason. And then again saying, fantastic, this was a brilliant idea. But had you suggested this thing or you thought this way also, don't you think this thing would have improved or changed, etc., etc.? Look, everyone is intelligent.
Hmm.
Now you are adding value to the person, you are not trying to give a solution. And when you add value to a thinking person, an intelligent person, the person internally starts thinking and realizing where he or she has gone wrong.
Hmm.
So that catch of disengagement starts reducing. And once it reduces, that is the time you talk of the present and the future as far as the career goes.
Okay. So we should understand the reason behind why a person is getting engaged, disengaged,
Yes.
right? That's the first pointer that we should
Obviously.
take.
Uh,
Then I think you emphasize motivation does not help at that point. Maybe
no.
we have to have a different approach there to look at. Now, How does a
Okay, can I
role
say
of
one thing? Can I say one
yeah,
thing? Because
yeah,
a
yes,
lot of
yes.
L&D people and the HR people say, motivate, motivate. Come on, man.
Uh,
I am grossly frustrated, right?
yeah,
Because I have not got the promotion this year. And I was expecting, right? And even my variable pay, which was 30%, has only been sanctioned 10%.
hmm.
And you come and say, come on, man, don't feel sad. You see,
Yeah, that's where I think what we initially started or we spoke about this. Everybody is fighting a different battle
yeah,
altogether when it is personal and
because
professional. Yeah,
yes,
so it becomes a lot of difference when you have promised or you were expecting a progression or a promotion, but you don't get. Then you are asked to be motivated. That does not happen.
that does not happen. You see, you are turning the person away. Okay,
Yeah,
if you promised and you have not given it, then there has to be a good reason. Otherwise, it's a breach of trust.
trust. True.
If the person thinks that, okay, he or she is doing very well and was entitled for a promotion, then a dialogue is needed,
Hmm.
not a sermon, not motivation. You need to politely, with love, humility, compassion,
I
show
can.
the mirror to the person without humiliating and insulting the person.
I can recall a discussion that happened about 2 weeks back where I was getting certain requirements from two people who have to be working together. I got the problem statement correctly from both of them.
Mhm.
But the person who was giving a solution showed me the solution and it worked.
Hmm.
I was confident I saw the solution. But the person who gave the problem to solve was not accepting that the problem is solved.
Hmm.
And I was having two different conversations because this person who gave the problem was working in the US shifts and this guy was working in India shift. I did not have what I did is I called both of them to a call and said, see, my understanding I'll tell, correct me if I'm wrong. The statement of a problem is you are getting an error and that error is being solved by our teammate on an environment.
Hmm.
And have you seen that environment? She said, I have not seen the environment. First confusion is that both are not in sync.
Right?
Second confusion I understood is problem statement. I reaffirmed saying that is this the problem? They agreed, yes, this is the problem. And so, what is the next step that you should look? You have a problem in one environment, there is another problem in another environment. Is the code being the same between these two environments? Then he said, code remains the same. Some enhancements are moved to production, some are not moved. The code remains same. Have you verified both the codes and where are the missing pointers? That we did not do. We just had to take 10 minutes to understand the gap and fix it. When we analyzed, there were two different environments, two different set of codes done by two different people. So it was only to make us a connect between those two people and say, well, this understanding, this is my understanding, this is what we should look, this is what we should look. Are we in the same page? Then said yes. After one day, it was resolved.
You see, now this is what I say mature handling. You know, a number of times praying people and my clients say, okay, do something. My staff becomes innovative,
Hmm.
creative. And I say, look, innovation and creativity are not products which you can go to the market and
Yeah.
buy.
Yes.
They are a mindset
True.
phenomenon, right?
Yeah.
They are driven by how you are receiving information, storing information, analyzing information, how you're thinking about the information. They're driven by all these factors, right? So, first you develop the mindset. And personally, what I have found is systems thinking and design thinking are the answers for these things.
Correct.
Because the system thinking gives you the play field in totality. What is leading to what, and how is it proceeding further? What is triggering at what stage and impacting the other stage? And
I'll add to one. Okay, I'll add one point here, Sandeep. If you recall, during school days or college days, we had these flow charts that were there,
Mhm.
and we used to say a triangle, rectangle box, triangle box, and stuff like that. And this is where we start, and this is where if it is not working, go down, and if it is working, go down the steps.
Yes. You see?
So most of them, that was the basics that were taught in our college and school days, where we said if you have a problem, if you can draw a line saying that where you will go if this does not happen, where will you go when it happens. I think that's the logic even when we look at systems design or system thinking, what we are talking, or design thinking and stuff. It gives you a path where you take things from one place to another and how the process goes.
Yeah.
Right, Sandeep?
You talked of a tool. I was talking of the philosophy.
Yeah.
Okay. System thinking gives you a total idea of the triggers at various stages, the
Right.
sequence of events, and the interconnectivity between the events.
Correct.
Design thinking, which is all human centric thinking, finding a solution in a human centric way, gives you a viable, sustainable solution.
Right.
And okay, the five whys which you just talked of, PERT, CPM, etc., all these are tools,
Yeah. Yeah.
which the agile, Scrum, these are
Hmm.
again tools,
Yeah.
you know, between defining the problem, making the problem statement, and getting to the solution. They all fall in between. But what
Yeah.
I'm saying is, people who want innovation, who want creativity in their organization, should also encourage their people to understand systems thinking and design thinking.
Right, Sandeep. What would be some of the essential qualities for engaging a leader in today's dynamic work environment?
The essential qualities, right? Like in a few questions back, I talked of the leader needs to connect, right?
Yeah.
That is communication,
Right.
heartfelt communication, operating out of the heart, communication which inspires, which influences, which impacts, inspires people to listen to the leader, influences people to take action, to believe in themselves and act, and impact, making people understand the impact or the value addition which will happen to their lives. When these things come together, you see, then people want to follow that leader.
Hmm.
And then the skill sets, then the man management, then the vision, distribution of duties, conflict management, positive
True.
feedback, all these things come into play. You see, this is very unfortunate. We look at the results we want and we start, tinkering with the systems to get those results. No, man, you have to go to the basics.
Right, Sandeep.
And from the basics, you got to build it up because now let's take the case of a tree. There are branches,
Yeah.
there are fruits, branches, trunk, and the roots. Keep working at the trunk or the roots or trunk, the branches, and the fruits. You'll keep having the same problem.
Yeah.
You got to go to the roots and change the roots. Now, the
Right.
same thing applies in the human beings. Okay, their actions. Below the actions, there are patterns. Below the patterns, there are structures. And below the structure, there are drivers.
Right.
What drives that person to behave in a particular way? So,
True.
unless you identify the drivers, you will never get a permanent solution. And we have got used to, addressing the system, the pattern part or the structure part or only the action part without bothering about the drivers. So it becomes a quick fix approach.
I think when one pointer which came up in one of the books that I was reading was that is that a car manufacturer in the US had a finishing, this one, a mantle kept to fix the doors at the last.
Hmm.
when the rubbers, mm, door rubbers were given a hammer, and that means the final done, the car is moving out for sale. These people went to Japan to find out what is the uh, uh, process the Japanese follow of a car manufacturing. So while they inspected everything and they came out, they did not find a mantle there.
Hmm.
So this guy was surprised. How does this happen? Something has to be fixed at the end because those rubbers don't sit. And we had to hammer them, but these guys are not having a hammer here. And we've been trying this method for a very long time and it's not happening. So out of curiosity and out of lot of reluctantness, he goes and asks, I didn't find a hammer to fix the rubbers of the
Hmm.
doors. This guy said, looked at him and said, we fixed that in the design.
Now, so this brings me to my favorite sentence. I tell people, if you want innovation, focus on the process.
Yeah, yeah,
If you
yeah.
focus on the process, innovation will automatically
That will
emerge.
happen.
And if you focus on the product, you'll only get incremental improvement.
Take our example of our digital currency model.
Yes,
Nowadays, people don't carry cash. You have a
yes.
mobile, you go out. Earlier, I myself, if I have to go out of Bangalore from taking my car, I would first look, should I carry about 2 to 3,000 cash?
Hmm.
Not everywhere ATMs are there. Now, I was surprised to have outside a temple the lady who takes care of the footwear.
Hmm.
For 2 rupees, she has a Paytm. This one, she says, pay
Yes.
it through Paytm. That's the process that we've brought to enable digital currency, right? So, see the change where 2 rupees was a change that we were difficultly having to give to a footwear guy. Now that guy has a QR. You just scan. You don't have cash to be carried. Your mobile is always there with you, and you pay it. You are fixing the process, right?
And you're absolutely right. It's a lovely example, which I'll be using now going forward. Never thought that way. Now, while we are on the topic of innovation and creativity and engaging leadership, you see, every innovation has got two parts, the technical part and the adaptability part,
Adaptability part. Yeah.
right? For
Right.
example, wearing a mask, the dictate that you got to wear a mask during COVID was the technical part. If you wear a mask, you will not catch COVID.
True.
But making people wear the mask was the adaptability part.
Correct. Right.
Now, 90% of the innovations fail because people do not focus on the adaptability part. And engaging, you know, ensure environment. One was the technical part, the
Hmm.
other was the adaptability part.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So how do we keep the current leadership trends and continually improve the engagement technique?
Okay. Let me tell you, how can you build up an engaging leadership style? First of all, an engaging leadership style is not a style. An engaging leader builds a culture.
Yeah.
Culture wherein individual goals are aligned to the corporate goals or the business goals. A culture where a person finds meaning and purpose in his or her work. A culture where people find mutuality, get a sense of being respected, valued, and the freedom to express themselves. Okay. Now,
Yeah.
how do you get this thing into play? Usually, the formula which I give to the leaders is called phases.
Mhm.
Okay. F standing, this is an acronym, F standing
Okay.
for flexibility. Bring flexibility in your purpose, thoughts, and actions. A stands for adaptability. Bring adaptability in your purpose, thoughts, and actions because situations are dynamic.
Yeah.
C stands for coherence.
Mm-hmm.
Bring coherence in your purpose, thoughts, and action because if you're everywhere, the team will disintegrate. They won't know what to do. Energy. If you don't show energy, your team will have no energy.
Yeah.
And stability. Okay. Now, stability is very important. If you keep jumping from one project to the other and from the second to the third and the third to the fourth, and you don't give time to your team to complete the projects, they'll stop working.
Yeah.
Okay, now
True.
this is the fundamental phases, the framework which I use, and this is a framework devised by me. And then now you got to make it operational at three levels. Okay, first is at the behavior level,
Hmm.
and this you can do how? By a deep dive into your self-awareness paradigm, understanding why do you think and act the way you think and act. Because unless you know that, you cannot bring about changes in your reactionary pattern.
Hmm.
I'm not getting into the details of it. Okay. The second is at the operational level. You got to build a culture of coexistence, co-creation, and co-growth, where the
Yeah.
entire team works in sync for a common goal. The team pools in resources for that common goal. Attitude, that curiosity has to be there. A lot of leaders have, hey, I know I've been working for 20 years. I know this thing. Yes,
Hmm.
you know this thing, but there could be a small comma somewhere in what the other person is saying, which might change everything,
True.
right?
Yeah.
So get out of this attitude, I know everything. And lastly, as far as possible, apply participative decision making. I'm not saying even the strategies have to be done in a participative way, but yes, there are certain things which you could do in a participative way. Now, to share an example with you, there's a national debt company. Okay, they wanted, they were. It was a very disengaged company,
Okay.
so they wanted engagement. So what I did was, so we decided, okay, we'll get the vision, missions, and values statement. And they said, can you help us? I said, yes, I can. So what I did was, I got all the 32 people, right, into one room, right from the CEO to the junior most, made teams, gave them challenges, problems, issues. Then each team made a presentation. They discussed, and and then they pooled in their thoughts and
Hmm.
reduced the 20 into 10 or 5 action points. And we did this thing over 2 days. The values came out beautifully, the
Okay.
apprehensions came out beautifully, the vision came out beautifully, and the team was totally transformed from being absolutely disengaged to being highly engaged. So, participative decision making is a very, very important thing.
Hmm.
And lastly, at the organizational level, okay, you got to look at the stakeholders, not the shareholders in today's environment.
Yeah.
You see, you've got to look at the larger picture, join the dots. You've got to do SWOT. Now, SWOT is one thing, a very powerful tool,
Yeah.
which people don't
True.
do. They need to realize that the strengths and weaknesses are within the organization. Opportunities and threats are outside the organization.
Outside there. Yeah.
You see,
True.
and your sweet spot is getting them together and finding your own space.
Exactly.
because you got to manage your strengths and weaknesses in such a way that you can resist the threats and take advantage of the opportunities.
True.
So
True.
these are sort of some of the ways, where the leaders can continue what they're doing, add more energy to it, become more engaged, right? And as the world is changing very fast, it's very dynamic. Flexibility, adaptability, coherence, energy, and stability phases is the answer to it.
Okay. With that, how do we foster culture of innovation and creativity within the team? See, it is whenever we have a leadership talk, I ask this pointer very specific because we have different perspectives in fostering innovation and culture, right? Your view on it, Sandeep.
My view is very simple. The way we approach innovation and culture, creativity, let me answer that thing first, right?
Yeah.
Is totally warped. We say
Hmm.
innovation department. We'll put three people over there as if they are the wise people and they know everything. Okay.
Yeah.
Now let
Okay.
me let me give you an example. Google. I was
Ah.
reading somewhere. What does Google do? In case Prem is having a problem and not finding a solution. If Sandeep is having a problem and not finding a solution, Prem and Sandeep they go and paste the problem on the notice board of the cafe.
Okay.
Now, any member of Google from any team, any department can work on the problem
Hmm.
and give the solution.
Wonderful. Yeah.
And that person is obviously recognized and it goes in his or her KRA and it goes in his or her career progression reports, etc., etc.
Hmm.
The other
That's a
example, which comes to my mind, if you have seen the movie Laksh, it was a war movie.
yeah.
You see, the enemies are shelling and they don't
Hmm.
know how many guns are there. So the colonel and his officers, the major and the lieutenants, these officers, well trained people, they ultimately come to a conclusion it's one gun which is firing.
Hmm.
A cook whose job is just to prepare the meals for the troops. He says, "Sir, if you allow me to permit, there are two guns." So they
Hmm.
look at him amazed. They say, what rubbish this man is talking. What he says, it takes 60 seconds to load the cannon.
Hmm.
And the difference between two shots is of 45 seconds, which is not possible.
Hmm.
Therefore, there are two guns.
Wonderful. I'll have a look at that. That's a very nice thing. I'll have
Right.
a look at those
Yeah.
movies.
So, what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say, you got to be open minded,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
got to involve people, you will get better solutions,
Yes.
or at least you'll get more ideas on which you can work upon. And when you do this, culture will automatically develop because people will start thinking in terms of taking the organization up, of contributing something to the organization.
Right. Uh, m- when people talk about contribution and that contribution when it is recognized, people get a different kind of a feel, right? As you said, somebody gets in Google where they have put it on the board, he gets recognized. But somebody who would walk and just see that problem at times can give a solution. What do you think, Siddhi?
This is what I'm saying. And this is what Google does. It is there on the board. You walk in, you say, hey, I
Yeah.
can give you a solution. And you post the
Right.
solution and you send the solution. The job is done.
True. And I followed this in one of my projects way back. We were struggling for finding a solution for a storage issue. Okay. It was a banking environment. We were trying, and then one of my boss told me, Prem, I think our approach should change. We know the problem. We are only addressing the problem there. And we are
Okay.
looking at one place only. Why don't you bring a third person and ask him to look? And we don't tell him. He only brings up what are the pointers, what is the difference between the current and the new environment. And he brings up a documentation for us. I said that will take a lot of time. But Prem, you're forgetting one more point. We have not documented it. That process will take much more time for us to document. So this guy will bring up documentation for us and the configurations for us. What is the
Hmm.
difference between? I resisted for a day or two, and he said, "Prem, rethink about it because this is your project and it is going for a long time, and this issue is there." Then we brought one person. That guy came. He had a good experience on the technology side of that specific product. He came. He sat for a day. He gave us almost 2,000 parameters listed, and on the second day he gave a comparison between the first environment and the second environment, and he said there are two parameters which are missing in the current environment and the
Hmm.
new environment. You go try these parameters. When you are saying the environment which is currently running has a older configuration and the test environment has a latest configuration, move that configuration there, and he gave us 2000 parameters. We went and we put that parameter, it started working.
Yes, a number of time it happens. And another very, useful method is to restate the problem.
Yeah,
You see,
right,
because the problem is the same. The words you use, drives your mind in a particular direction.
right.
If you restate the problem using different words, your mind would start going in a different direction because each word means differently to different people.
Hmm. True.
Like what you can do, in a team, you say, okay, what does the word beauty mean to you? And ask your team members, and you'll get different answers to that. What does praise mean to you? You'll get different answers to that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Can we discuss on a time where your leadership approach needed to be adjusted significantly and how you managed to transition that, Sandeep?
Uh, Again, you make me nostalgic. It takes me to 1984.
Okay,
A brash, young organization development consultant thinking he knows everything,
okay,
going to the client and saying, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, you should do it this way, this way, this way, this way. A very dictatorial thing.
yeah,
And then started losing business because of this kind of a behavior. Though I was right, but I was not diplomatic. I was not polite. I was not operating out of humility and love. I was not giving, see, because no one can be doing everything wrong. You've
right,
got to recognize what the other person has done right, right?
yeah,
But in one stroke, I was painting everything is wrong.
hmm,
So that is the time, and then I lost business. That is the time I went through a lot of internal churn. Why, what, how? And then I told you the story, the discussion I had with my guru. So that was the fundamental turning point from where I became the arrogant consultant, from the arrogant consultant of the 1980s to the person what I am today.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. That's a good way of looking at back sometime. I think that becomes more nostalgic for us to look at where we started and how it all shaped up today, as on today. What was the most impactful piece of advice you would receive on leadership, and how has it influenced your style?
Uh, Again, operate out of love and compassion.
Okay.
As simple as that. Because that is fundamental for me. You see, you might be the best person on earth in terms of intellect, in terms of understanding, but if you are rude, you're not operating out of love and compassion or humility, then it's a
Hmm.
mere transaction. And I'll tolerate you only till the point you're adding value to me,
Yeah,
and beyond that, I'll not tolerate you.
true, true. I think at one point that tolerance of, we spoke about disengagement as well, right? So somewhere we'll also get disengaged when some kind of that piece is happening to us and say enough is enough and we should change that style, right, Sandeep?
That is true, but here's the role of the leader, not the engaging leader. The engaging leader has to be hawk eyed.
Yeah.
How are the team members behaving? What is there? I remember, for around 7, 8 years,
Hmm.
I was working for TCG Life Sciences.
Okay.
It's a group in Calcutta. So I was going through some ups and downs, and I was not performing. I was disengaged. Let's be honest, I was disengaged for some time.
Okay.
So I get a call from my managing director because I was working directly with him. He said, "Yeah, what's the problem? Can I help you? Are you going
Okay.
through some personal problems or some other problems?" For once, he did not say that you are disengaged.
Okay. Right.
You see, so after the 10 minutes call, I said, "I know why you're calling me because this reason." He said, "Yeah,
Yeah.
I was wondering what's happened to you." You
True,
see, it's,
true.
it's, it's all about the leader, how the leader sees things, how hawk-eyed is the leader, what
Right.
freedom the leader gives. And that
They're
is,
not. Yeah, yeah, Sandeep, go ahead.
no, I'm saying that is the beauty of a engaging leader or a engaging leadership. But that is
Right.
required, that's the core.
What could be the most impactful thing that you have done and that has changed the way you are trying to do something, or a technique that you have implemented that excited you, Sandeep?
The technique in business which excites me is love.
Okay.
You see, because the way we look at love is again warped.
Yeah.
If you research into the origin of love or the word love, right, what does it really mean? It is a state of being,
Hmm.
state of existence, resting on the four legs. And which are those four legs? Respect, mutuality,
Hmm.
compassion, and communication. And if you bring these four factors into your business strategies, and I'll give you an empirical example also, right? Your business gallops. There's a very interesting research by Raj Sisodia. Raj Sisodia was with Wharton Business School,
Okay.
and it is called the firms of endearment. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
he investigated certain companies which are publicly dealt and found that these companies were doing much better than the S&P 500 average and the good to
What?
great index. And then when he investigated further, he deciphered that these companies had brought love into their strategies. Okay, they were focusing on the stakeholders, and their fundamental philosophy was not to allow any stakeholder to prosper at the cost of the other stakeholder. So what they were doing is, and they had two contracts. One is the legal contract. Obviously, you got to perform, deliver, and the other one was the unwritten emotional contract.
Hmm.
You might be a supplier, but don't forget we are there for you. When the supplier went and faced a challenge, they extended the credit terms.
Hmm.
They took care of each other.
Yeah, yeah. I recall during COVID period, most of the people who sticked on to their businesses are people who loved and cared for each other, and those vendors are still together because they took care of each other and they did not let down each other. So they managed these. I know many of the businesses that were thriving like that, interdependent stuff like that, and
Exactly,
they helped
exactly.
each other whenever there is a need, and the other person has helped him, and this is where there is a business, so you pitch in there, you get yours. They helped each other to a larger extent is what I've seen, Sandeep.
Yeah, so for me, the most exciting technology which is to be introduced into business today is love. Bring love into your strategy. Love doesn't mean I love my mother, I love my sister, I love my girlfriend, boyfriend, I love the dog, I love the building. Not that love.
Yeah,
Love which stands on the four legs, the state of being which stands on the four legs of respect, mutuality, communication, and compassion.
wonderful.
And even if you go back in history, Aristotle said, love means the greater good of the other. And so did
Yes,
a number of other people. And the ancient Indian wisdom attached the sense of devotion and sacrifice and surrender with love.
with this, Sandeep, I think more my key takeaways for we come to the final question that I had, or the pointer that I wanted to discuss with you. I would like to summarize with some key points that I've noted from your discussion is more to look at have the faces model that is more important. I believe that's one thing that you said. You spoke about pillars of trust and communication, and where trust is there, many people dive into do most of the things for you, and where you are respected, appreciated is what we discussed. Primary motto of any business: have a compassionate uh, attachment to people and spread love. That makes most of the work done for you is what I take as a note here with this discussion. Sandeep, any final thoughts that you want to add?
For me, it's a simple thing. Business is not merely an economic activity,
Okay,
it is a
got it.
socio-economic activity. Why socio? It is a socio-economic relationship between three sets of people who help each other to help themselves. Now, who are these three sets? The owners who establish the business,
Yeah,
the people who work for the business, and the
and the
customers.
customers.
Remove one of them, there's no business.
There's no business. Perfect.
The three
Correct.
of them have a relationship like the soul, body, and mind have a relationship.
Perfectly articulated, Sandeep.
Okay?
Yes. Yeah.
So, what had happened in the 20th century? The human dimension was thrown out of the business realm.
Uh-huh. Okay.
But come on, when there are humans involved, there's a relationship involved. How can you ignore the human dimension?
True.
Okay, and you have seen the repercussions of pure economic dimension. All the genocides in the name of business,
Yeah.
all the scams, right?
Yeah.
2008,
Yeah. Right.
you see,
Yeah.
WorldCom and in
True.
India, Satyam.
Hmm.
How many people
True.
lost their money?
Their jobs. And many people believe that company like crazy, and they took that as a pride. But when it down, I went down. I've seen many people. I know many of
Exactly.
the people who work.
So,
Yeah.
my simple thing is we are at the cusp. Leaders are struggling. They don't know how to get the human dimension into business in an effective manner so
Hmm.
that while human dimension comes in, the top line and the bottom line also keeps on
Going
increasing,
increasing.
going up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yes, human dimension, and I tell you, there is no conflict between the human dimension and the economic dimension. It's all a matter of strategizing. All a matter of understanding. It's all a matter of self awareness
True.
by the leader, of the leader, for the leader,
For the
self
leader.
awareness of the organization, by the organization, for the organization, and self awareness by the employees, of the employees, and for the employees.
For the employees. Thank you, Sandeep. It was a great session. Thank you for joining us today on LinkedIn Live. Please do follow Sandeep on the link that we have shared. Please do follow us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We have our streams running across. We hope this session was valuable for you and looking forward for your insights and inputs driving your organization to success. Until the next time, stay healthy, keep yourself safe. Thank you for being part of the show. Thank you, Sandeep.
Thank you. I really enjoyed talking to you. And that's it.
Yeah, thank you.